Hello, and welcome to Paranormal in Pennsylvania,
where we discuss history and haunts.
Today's story takes us up north to Massachusetts for an episode of Paranormal Outside of Pennsylvania. I'm Sarah.
And I'm David.
Let's get into it. So today we are talking about a place that I cannot believe you haven't heard of, the Lizzie Borden house.
I've heard of it, I just don't know the story of it.
Which is, again, mind-boggling. So I went here when I was younger, and as someone who loves spooky stuff, I thought this was such a cool story and a cool location. And this is going to sound crazy, but especially because I have step-parents. And that'll make sense when we get into the history. And just to clarify, I don't want to kill my step-parents. But I did know the rhyme before I even visited the house. And the rhyme is, Lizzie Borden took an axe, gave her mother 40 whacks. When she saw what she had done, she gave her father 41. What I didn't know until I started researching it was there's an additional few lines of the rhyme, which is, Andrew Borden is now dead, Lizzie hit him on the head. Up in heaven he will sing, on the gallows she will swing.
Oh, yeah. I mean, fair. She did just murder two people very viciously.
Yeah, allegedly. So, to jump right into the history, because that already jumps into it, this house has a really gruesome history. From 1872 to 1892, the house belonged to the Borden family. Andrew Borden was a prominent merchant in the area, and their family was rich. They had multiple homes. The original address was 92 2nd Street, but it was actually changed to 230 2nd Street in 1896. So that's after the Bordens owned the house. In August of 1892, there was a murder there that is technically an unsolved murder of Lizzie's father and stepmother, Andrew and Abby Borden. Andrew was napping on a couch in the sitting room, and his wife was in the guest room. In contrast to the poem, Abby was actually struck 18 times, and Andrew was struck 11 times. And this is with a hatchet that they believe to be the murder weapon.
Well, it makes sense.
Yes.
Rather than like a big wood cutting axe.
Yeah. Lizzie did have a sister, Emma, who was quickly ruled out as a suspect. And the only other person in the house at the time was their maid, Bridget.
Why was her sister ruled out as a suspect?
I don't think she was in the house.
Okay.
Rumor has it that Lizzie offered Bridget any sum of money she would like to remain quiet about the murders. Lizzie was quickly identified as a suspect, first because she was on site, and second because she had obvious hate for her stepmother. She also stood to benefit by inheriting the family fortune if her father were to die. She also changed her alibi multiple times through the course of the court case.
Oh, that's never a good look.
No, not at all. During the investigation by the police, they found a hatchet with a broken handle in the home cellar, which is the murder weapon, like I said. There was no conclusive evidence, however, that it was actually used in the murders. There were also eyewitnesses of Lizzie burning her clothes shortly after the murder. Some stories say that she washed the blood off her body in a wash bin in the basement.
Interesting.
So Go ahead, sorry.
This is really stacking up against her. All these eyewitness accounts. Although, how much was she liked by the town?
I don't think a lot.
So, yeah, because what if this was kind of like a smear as well? I don't know.
I mean, maybe. I mean, it seems like she did it, but...
Yeah, I mean, it really does seem like she did it.
Yeah. So, the home has been a bed and breakfast since 1996, which is crazy to me. And it was started by a woman who actually inherited the house. Her family purchased it in 1948. So this is not that long after, 56 years after the murder. And then sold it in 2021. And the new owner said that he would maintain it as a bed and breakfast, but wants to actually expand the business, offering more Lizzie Borden themed items. And you can stay in the room where Abby Borden was murdered. And they also offer tours of the property. When I visited, I was there on a tour. I was not staying there. So, with a home this haunted, or with a home with this gruesome of a past, rather, it's no surprised that it's haunted. It's actually listed as the second best haunted hotel worldwide. So this place packs punch. Tour guides have reported that feeling of being touched as they lead tours throughout the house. There are also reports of tugging on people's shirts and people hearing whispers. In the attic bedrooms, there are reports of giggling children, which is interesting because it leads me to believe that it's not just the murdered Bordens that haunt this house.
No, because I mean we're talking like over. Well, when did the murder occur?
1892.
Yeah, so we're talking like 100 years difference.
Yeah,
so
that's
you don't
true.
know.
I mean, even before the Bordens owned it, because it's been a bed and breakfast. Well, I guess it was a family home for a bit. But it leads me to believe that it's haunted by people, not just the Bordens.
Right. I could easily believe that.
Yeah. And so I did some more research on this, trying to figure out who the kids would be, if there were ever murders on site, etc. And I think the kids actually come from a haunting in the house next door. In 1848, 2 children were murdered by their mother. Allegedly, she drowned them in the well in the basement of the house.
Wow, that's...
Yeah.
Wow.
And this gives me major The Ring vibes.
Right.
And that movie terrified me as a kid. The children ghosts will roll marbles across the floor, jostle coat hangers in the closets, and in general just move around objects and hide them. So they seem to be pretty playful. You could, like I said earlier, you can hear them giggling, so it doesn't seem like they're malicious ghosts.
Yeah, and it makes sense with it being from the house next door, because we've spoken about traveling or roaming ghosts.
Yeah.
Before on the podcast, like with Iron Hill.
Mm-hmm. And it's close enough, you know.
Oh yeah. Well, I mean, close as in how close?
As in next door.
Okay. Like, oh right, because it's in Massachusetts, more like a densely urban area.
I think so.
Oh, okay. Yeah, there we go.
So, after the trial, Lizzie did move out of the house into a different property that the Borden family owned, but it is said that she can still be seen roaming the halls of 232nd Street. Regardless of who these ghosts are, the legend says that they can be bribed to leave you alone. And I think this is the first case of this on the podcast.
Yeah, that's actually very interesting. What?
I know. I'll explain it. So, for example, setting a few coins on Mr. Borden's dresser is said to quiet his ghost. And when people do this, there's no sightings of him, or they're very minimal.
Oh man, that would so one, that's really cool, but the other thing is that would suck so much if you're on a tour and then somebody walks over and just puts coins on the dresser.
Yeah, if you want to have a paranormal experience. Yeah.
Right, if you're looking for a paranormal experience.
Yeah. The other thing is you can quiet the child ghosts by leaving a toy offering in the attic.
Oh, that's cool too.
Yeah, I do really like that. I think a really precious part of some of the hauntings we've seen is like the toys associated with the child ghosts, like the plane at Penhurst.
Yeah, I was going to bring that up, but you beat me to it.
Yeah. There are other general hauntings experienced without offerings, and this is seeing figures travel through the rooms and hallways, and people very specifically having their ears pulled. From what I read, this was a really, really high occurrence.
Do we think that might be like just disciplinary from either the father or stepmother?
Oh, maybe.
Because that used to be like a fairly common disciplinary action, right?
Maybe. I don't know.
Yeah, a thought. But and I'm wondering also, is that why Lizzie hated her stepmother so much?
The reason, I think, I didn't say this in the history. I tried to pare it down. There was a ton, and I'm super interested in it. Part of why she hated her stepmother is her stepmother was really close to her in age, and when they got married, it meant Lizzie wouldn't get the family fortune. And Lizzie was already too old to marry.
I see. Wow, yeah, so jealousy.
Yeah, a lot of jealousy.
Yeah, pretty petty as well.
Yeah.
Very petty.
So people have also reported comforters being pulled off of them at night. Rocking chairs and wind-up toys are reported to move on their own, and one group of guests even saw a chair move a couple of feet across the floor on its own. And we're talking about a whole tour. So there are like 10 people that have confirmed that this happened.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's just really cool. Now, would I also be like freaking out the rest of the tour? Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
But awesome.
I do love evidence like that can't really be refuted because there are so many accounts of it.
Yeah, as soon as I calm down my skepticism, I would be like, okay, wait, let's go let's see if there's a wire or something that causes it to, like a...
Yeah, you have to, right?
Right.
One woman who stayed in the house said that around 3 a.m., the fire alarm went off for no reason. The owner explained to her that some people refer to 3 to 4 a.m. as the witching hour or devil's hour because that's when paranormal forces are the most powerful. Now, we've never seen this anywhere in the over 30 sites that we've researched. We've never heard of this, but we've also... I guess we have done hotels. So it would be relevant. I was going to say, I think most of the time, the investigations we see aren't that late.
At night?
Yeah, at 3 a.m.
I don't know. I mean, I'm familiar with the term of like the witching hour, and that, if you're doing a paranormal investigation, you want to do it later. But I guess like I can't think of the time that takes place in a lot of the paranormal shows we've watched.
Right. I guess I am also just thinking of like the times at which a normal person would be interacting with a site. It's not 3 a.m. unless it's a hotel.
Well, I mean, unless they're allowed to stay over, it doesn't have to be a hotel, right?
Well, I mean, like, people that aren't there for paranormal reasons.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
But I think this is something we should really keep in mind moving forward. And the woman talked to an employee the next morning who said that fire alarm goes off a few times every month around 3 a.m. And that they've had people come out to look at it and there's no known cause.
Interesting. Part of me would like to say that's definitely just a faulty fire alarm. Like, did they ever get it fully replaced?
Not fully replaced, but they did have people come out and run diagnostics on why it was going off. And they said it was fine.
Huh.
I'm sure that is a, like, safety issue.
Right. Well, yeah. I imagine that is bad.
Yeah.
For in terms of preventing fire. But the thought that it is the ghosts that like to do it at 3 a.m., it's always mind-blowing how spirits can interact with technology from almost any age.
Yeah.
Right? Because like Lizzie Borden was 98 you said?
1892 was the murder.
92 was the murder. And so here we are in 2023, and modern fire alarms, like that those just didn't exist. I think that's just really fascinating.
It is fascinating, right? Another woman that stayed there reported that when she was standing outside the house with a group of 3 other people, she looked down at the ground, and instead of 4 shadows, she saw 5. She immediately looked around and saw nothing, but the shadow remained on the ground, and it was as if someone was standing with them in the group. And what she noted is the shadow appeared to have a bun, which was Lizzie's characteristic hairstyle.
Oh, interesting. She likes tours of her own home.
I know, it's almost like she was eavesdropping.
I mean, I believe it. Like, I don't know, her character, based off what you said, strikes me as somebody who would eavesdrop.
Yeah. People that stay overnight, in general, report terrible nightmares about the many hauntings and negative events that have plagued the Borden house. Now, could this be because the topics are at the front of their mind? Yes. Could this also be because spirits are interfering in their dreams? Yes. So who really knows?
Yeah, but this is also I think only like the second time we've had, a place that really causes a bunch of nightmares. Or
What's the other place you're thinking of?
Gosh, I thought it was Fort Mifflin when people stayed over.
Oh, I'm sure. If people sleep, which is crazy to me. When investigators have gone to this house, they report feeling overwhelmed with unknown aggression, as if there's residual negative force there.
Like they walk in and feel angry, or they feel like anger toward, like as if hostility towards them. Not
towards them, like angry. As if there's anger in the house.
Gotcha, like tension.
Yes.
Cool.
I don't know if that's cool.
I mean, I would not want to live there, no. Not whatsoever.
Right. One investigator said that they feel that the house has a, quote, residual haunt, which is the echoes of ghosts who may have moved on since the initial haunting. And residual haunts are kept alive by the energy that people bring to the house, hoping to experience something paranormal. So this is a new concept for us, and it kind of makes me think of like, oh, Santa Claus is real because people believe in Santa Claus, you know? Like that kind of trope.
Yeah, this is interesting. And immediately, like, I'm starting to think, well, one, about this, like, who do we think has moved on?
Mm-hmm.
And then two, where else could this apply to places that we visited?
That was my thought of like, Eastern states, a great example. Not all of those ghosts are maybe still actively haunting it, but there's a lot of paranormal energy there because people expect it to be haunted. You know, I think any place that has a very known reputation for negative stuff and being haunted, it's really easy for it to just propel to be haunted.
So do you know, like, what is considered to be a residual haunting? Like, what actions occur? So, like, is a rocking chair moving on its own, or like footsteps a residual haunting, or can it be anything?
So it said that it could be anything that the original haunt consisted of, but what makes it residual is that mediums can't interact with the ghost anymore, if that makes sense.
I see.
So like the ghost itself as an entity is no longer there. It's almost like we always talk about ghosts running on a tape. It's almost like the haunting is running on a tape without anyone pressing play.
Huh. Okay. I mean, that's a good analogy, but that's so very interesting to me.
Yeah. And
so like the power of people's belief keeps it going.
yeah. And I think that might only apply to some of the ghosts here. Like, I think there's a very slim chance that Andrew or Abby or Lizzie have actually moved on, especially because it's an unsolved murder. I think maybe, like, the children could have moved on, or if other people have died in the house, maybe they could have moved on.
Yeah, I mean, it would be very interesting to watch some paranormal investigations and see if there's a medium or something that still interacts with the children.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah, I mean, that could help us, like, at least lower the suspect list.
Yeah. So that's all of the information on the haunting. To answer the question of would we go to this place of paranormal phenomena, I would love to go back as an adult. I don't think I appreciated it. I was there when I was pretty little as a kid. And they offer house tours, ghost tours, a ghost hunt, and they also offer virtual tours. They emphasize that all of the ghost hunt / tours are authentic and that they do nothing to enhance the experience at all.
Yeah, I believe that, but also the idea that everybody, I guess it's just because it's such a haunted location, that everybody has experiences all the time. But then again, it's number 2 in the world. So
number 2 most haunted hotel.
Number 2 most haunted hotel in the world. But I just think that's cool. But if we ever went, we would definitely have to do all the tours, not just one tour.
And would you want to stay there?
Stay overnight. Ooh, that's a toughie of a call. I would say I would attempt it. But if things started getting real crazy, maybe not so much. Maybe I might bow out politely.
I don't know. Maybe I'd leave before 3 a.m. Just because if that's when they get really active. Something crazy about this place is there's still the couch on which Andrew was murdered. It's been like reupholstered or whatever. Or perhaps it's a replica. But either way, there's a similar couch there. And people take photos laying on the couch to match the photos of how he looked when he was murdered. And to me, that's asking for trouble.
One that's asking for trouble also feels like quite disrespectful.
I mean, I do agree with that. But I feel like if you want to provoke a ghost, that's a way to do it. It's like taunting it.
Yeah, it's like when I insult the ghost in Phasmophobia.
Yes, but real life. So I would love to go back and experience it again. I think with everything we do, especially because we have the podcast and we learn about the histories of these places, we definitely come in with a level of respect. So absolutely, I would be respectful. I don't think I would be interested in taking photos like that. To each their own, I guess. But I would love to go. We should road trip up to Massachusetts.
Yeah, absolutely. Because then Salem,
Listen, Salem at Halloween is on my list.
of things to do before you die.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that'd be a really fun trip.
So thank you for tuning in and hearing about the Lizzie Borden house. This really just scratches the surface. There is so much about this house. So feel free to look into it yourself. Let us know what you think of it. Would you pose where Andrew Borden was murdered? And tune in next Thursday to hear what haunting we discuss next.